Welcome to the Agility in Real Life podcast, Take 5 in Real Life. Now your hosts, Mike Studeman, Jeff Lee, and Pat Campbell.
Hi, and welcome back to the Take 5 IRL podcast. I'm Jeff Lee, one of your hosts and a partner at agilityIRL.
And I'm Pat Campbell, the other partner today at agilityIRL.
All right, so the last couple episodes, we've been talking about portfolio management, transitioning into lean portfolio management. And in the last one, we queued up this whole idea of moving from projects to products. So if you haven't heard those other two episodes, it might help you to get some more context, although this does stand on its own as a topic as well. So Pat, what are we talking about, this project versus product? Why do we care about one or this topic at all?
Good question, Jeff. This is one of those things kind of at the core of Agile mindset is shifting the mindset from temporary projects that you bring people to long-lived products or streams of value that people are long-term committed and assigned to. And at the end of our last podcast, I'd tossed out a reference to a book by Mick Kirsten called Project to Product, which talks a lot about this. In fact, I can give a little taste of that. There's a table in that book that is a great summary of some of this thinking. And I'll throw it up and just give a couple of tastes from that, samples from that.
While you're doing that, I'll just note that a lot of the clients we work with who are getting into this agile thing, they start by saying, okay, we're going to use Scrum as a way to deliver projects faster or projects more iteratively. It can do that for you, but you're really not getting the benefits of business agility when you're just using sprints as a short feedback loop. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but changing from that idea of we're going to feed our projects into this process to thinking about things as a product and where value is and iterating on that. It's a different way of thinking.
Yeah, that's a very important point, Jeff, because a lot of companies stay hung up on the concept of output. And that's why they steer their projects into iterative approaches rather than outcomes, which is, what is the business trying to do? And that's a part and parcel of this whole shift to product-oriented thinking. And for those that are just on audio, I'll definitely verbalize some of this table that I'll be sharing. And I'll just be hitting on a couple of highlights here. But you can see that it has a couple of different categories like budgeting, timeframes, success, risk, teams, and so forth down the left side. And across the top, the comparison between project-oriented management versus product-oriented management. And so, for example, with budgeting, when you're doing project-oriented management, you're funding milestones that are all predefined at the scoping of a project. And new budget often will require creation of a new project. And perfect contrast to that is that if you fund a product value stream based on business results, which is a long-term effort, new budget allocation can be based on demand. If you see demand going up, why wouldn't you increase the investment in that product quickly? And so there's an incentive inherent in that to deliver incremental results. So that's just an example. With time frames, you get term of a project with the project-oriented management, whereas with product, you're looking at life cycle. What's the life cycle of that product, which is sometimes spans many years, and you get a group, connected with delivering that. They get very comfortable with that knowledge about that. So these are just examples. One last example I'll share with teams in project thinking. You're bringing people to the work, allocated up front, sometimes split percentage-wise across multiple projects, oftentimes reassigned, never productive as they'd like to be. With product thinking, you bring the work to the people. Their knowledge base grows exponentially and continuously as they stay associated with that product, and they get invested in that value stream. And so those are just a few examples, and this table is in that book. But it highlights how, with this way of thinking and this agile mindset, we have to have a different way of how we actually manage that budget in that portfolio.
Yeah, one thing I like to point out in my classes, I talked to about some studies done by the Standish Group, which found that, when they ran their chaos report in the early 2000s, roughly 60% of features that were delivered were of zero or very little value, as judged by the users and the customers. And
Yep.
so one thing that product thinking does, instead of saying, hey, here's a project, these are all the things we need, well, some of those things are by definition low value. In a product thinking, we're getting the high value things first, we're putting them out there, and we're learning, are those as valuable as we thought? And that's going to inform what we do next. So we don't develop those low value features that nobody's using.
Yep. And those are continuously shifting based on what the market is telling us. What may be perceived as higher in value, if the market shifts, could start dropping in value. And are we in a position to actually take advantage of that?
Yeah, it's important to realize, and kind of what you're alluding to here, is that all of our requirements and the forecasts we have and what value they're going to provide, they're all hypotheses, they're guesses. We're guessing that this feature is going to add this value. If we don't actually measure that, we don't know. And so we have to stop treating our requirements as things that we know are going to work and treat them like things that we hope are going to work, but we want to validate that all the time.
Yep. Yep. So another way of thinking of, project management office is maybe it should be a value management office.
Right. Managing where are we going with value and requiring that learning of what are we seeing out there from what we did before. Always revisiting those milestones, those measures.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So shall I jump into lean portfolio management then? Do we have enough time to kick that off?
If this ends up being a slightly longer podcast, I think people will be okay. If you're getting really tired right now and need to hit pause to walk away to handle a 7 or 8 minute episode, please do. But for those of you who are going to power through it, let's keep on rolling. So tell me about lean portfolio management and how that helps this, achieving value.
Well, the concept of lean is about eliminating waste and focusing on value delivery. Those are a couple of the key principles associated with the lean movement. And so lean portfolio management does just that. How do we align what we're doing with the business strategy in an effective way? And with the lean portfolio management, you're looking at what are the strategic themes of a business that are guiding investments. And based on that, what are the OKRs? And based on that, where should we invest our time and money? And so maintaining that alignment and revisiting it quarterly is one of the key concepts to ensure that the portfolio is aligned with the organization's strategic objectives and goals. And so it takes a very careful approach to that. And then mapping the value streams, identifying and optimizing that flow of value, and what are the products delivering that value, and what are the activities in the portfolio supporting that delivery. That's another aspect of it. Eliminating waste, being almost militant about cutting back on non-value add activities like unnecessary meetings, excessive documentation, which we used to depend on as a milestone, as opposed to actual working software, and also various redundant processes. And in the opposite of that is how are we enabling these development streams to flow smoothly and effectively in the delivery of value? Do we have enough environments for them to work in? Are our QA tools where they need to be for them to continuously release? Things like that, that kind of focus.
Yeah, I think back to our days studying for that PMP test that we all enjoyed so much, and thinking about earned value, right? And the way that were thinking about value at that time was value of a project. and we got a requirements document signed off. So we claim that as value, right? This is not what we're talking about, right? In this lean portfolio management world, this product world, value is getting results from our customers and from our users.
Yeah, again, that mantra, outcomes versus output, it helps if you can keep that, front of mind. And I know it helps me as I think through a lot of these different aspects of Agile. There's another aspect of this too, is decentralized decision making. I mean, project portfolio management was a very centralized approach to managing these investments in these projects and command and control thinking. With lean portfolio management, what we're trying to do is arm the teams to make the decisions where appropriate, because they have the information, they have the knowledge. And if there are tactical decisions that need to be made, by all means, empower and enable them with appropriate guardrails. But that's how you make an organization responsive to a market and to customers across the board, is by enabling them to make those decisions that they should be able to make, given where they're at, and with the right guardrails.
Yeah, you said guardrails twice, right? This is not just decentralizing everything and not having any influence from the central part of the organization. We want these things to be aligned with where we're going as a company. Obviously, we want leadership to be putting guardrails out there, but within that structure, absolutely empowering people to make decisions.
Yep. And if we do that, we'll enable a continuous and smooth flow of value to our customers, both internally and externally, which is ultimately the goal. How do we keep that flow going? How do we keep it smooth, rather than the stop-start that we used to with cost center thinking and budget approval thinking and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah, great. So awesome topic here. I hope people kind of get excited about this. Pat, by the way, does happen to teach the lean portfolio management class, and so we offer that to clients. Come out and do it on site. Also, those are offered publicly, and so we'll put a link here on the podcast to get you to see where those classes are, when the next one is. And feel free to reach out to us if you're interested in hearing more about that.
Yep. In fact, we have one coming up in June, if I recall correctly, Jeff. So keep an eye out for that. And thanks for joining us today.
Yes. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Take5IRL podcast. If you like it, please go ahead and share it with someone, as well as like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Also, leave us a comment or a suggestion for a future episode. Again, thanks for listening, and we look forward to you joining us next time on the Take5IRL podcast.